I don't think most investors realize what's about to happen this week. Over the next 5 trading days, the companies that have been carrying the entire stock market are going to tell us something much bigger than whether they be earnings or not. They're going to tell us if the AI boom is still accelerating, or if Wall Street finally starts questioning the trillions of dollars of spending that's being spilled on build out. We saw what they did with Google. We saw what they did with Intel. And they reported some of the best quarters in history. We know that revenue exploded with Google. We saw cloud compute grow. We saw YouTube grow. We saw Gemini approaching billions of users. We saw search dominating. But yet we still saw markets sell off. And it became a big interest. Now, going into this week, we have some of the biggest companies in the world reporting. But let's not forget, right now, we saw stock futures accelerating, meaning on the upside, because we heard that war talks between US and Iran have calmed down. We also saw crude oil plunge because of this. And so those are some of the things we're going to talk about in today's video and how we can navigate this week. Trust me, this is going to be impactful. It's not about what stocks to pick. It's about what we need to be seeing, because this week is so pivotal. The market could fall off an edge or it can reclaim some regular territory. It's your boy, the Wall Street Traveler. Make sure you like, subscribe this video, and help us get to 2,000 likes, because that truly helps the video and the page grow. Let's go. We have Meta, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Qualcomm, ARM Holdings. They all have to prove themselves this week. And while I believe this could be one of the biggest investing opportunities we've seen all year, for nearly 3 weeks, especially 12 days straight, the market has been getting slaughtered based on a lot of this bombing that's been going on. And people are saying that it's because of the AI trade. The AI trade is overwhelmed. These companies are massively sold off. Well, what we learned from earnings was that these companies are doing really, really good. We've seen backlogs that's exploded from TSMC, and we saw this also from ASML, 2 chip makers that are pivotal for the growth of the market. We saw MU exploding, saying how much memory is going to keep going. And so we got to understand that it wasn't trading economic news going on into the market this week. The market for the last few weeks has just been trading fear. Every missile, every headline, every presidential speak, every rumor became another reason for investors to sell first and ask questions later. Why? Because the markets hate uncertainty. We already were entering one of the weakest moments in the year, which is this July through August, September portion. This is the weakest moment because July typically is a up month, but then August, September get weaker. But we saw a weak June, a weak July, and that sets us up for August because this is the last week of the month. So that sets us up in a situation we really have to pay attention to what's going on. And the supply chains could be shut down with this war, which is happening. Fuel prices could double, which is happening. Shipping lanes could be closed for longer, which is happening. And an entire country could be the beneficiaries of this conflict, and not in a good way. And so I want us to be cautious here. Not exactly what institutional investors want to hear, because when geopolitical crises rise, that makes them get scared, no matter how great companies are doing. The slightest thing sells them off. Now we got to think about this for a second. Without AI spending, we would be in a recession, really and truly. But the AI spending that's going on in the world right now, especially America, is really what's keeping us afloat. And we see the demand. This is how we know this is the AI revolution, because everything is counting on it. And the companies are showing that money is there. Now, some people are saying, oh, they only spending money with each other. Well, I beg to differ, because I'm not buying an AI data center. I'm not buying an NVIDIA chip. It's the big companies that are buying the NVIDIA chips. It's the big companies that need that. So, of course, they're going to be the consumers. Now, let's fast forward a little bit more. We saw crude prices fall. Just look at your futures right now. And we saw stock futures, well, exploding. Look at your charts right now. And that tells us something really important. Something that I've been saying for the longest. Don't sell nothing, because we don't know how long this is going to last. The market wasn't collapsing because companies fundamentally weren't good. The market was crashing and falling because political risk rose. And at some point, that has to ease. And buyers immediately step back in. And we're seeing it right now. Now, we don't know how long it's going to last, but we're seeing them step in. Now, that doesn't mean the risk is gone. Absolutely not. Because we are one headline away from an unexpected escalation or one retaliatory move that could change sentiment overnight. And that's why geopolitical headlines remain the #1 story this week. Because until the market believes that this situation is over or stabilized, every headline has the potential to move billions of dollars against us. Think about it. As soon as we heard an ease between Iran and US, markets rallied even harder. And then once we heard commitment to the other side, once we heard shipping containers getting hit, the market started selling off. Because underneath those headlines, there's another force quietly pressuring stocks: interest rates. So let's think about that. And I just want to tell this story because these are the things that's important for us. And I want to give my audience the opportunity to see exactly what's going on in the market. So new investors spend a lot of their time watching stock prices, but professionals spend a lot of time watching the bond market, especially the 10-year treasury. Here's why. Because the treasury yield influences almost everything: mortgage rates, car loans, businesses growing, corporate financing, and ultimately stock valuations. Think about it like this. Imagine you're trying to buy a house. If mortgage rates are 3%, then you might comfortably afford a $600,000 home. But if those rates jump to 7%, then suddenly that same payment only buys you a $400,000 loan. Nothing changed about the house. The financing changed. Stocks work the same exact way. When interest rates stay high, well, future profits become worth less today. That's especially important for high growth AI names because many of these names and many of these businesses are investing today for much bigger profits for tomorrow, which is why, think about this, companies like Google fell, companies like MU fell, companies like Intel fell. And we're going to hear it this week too. Well, the reason why is because they're investing for the future. Yeah, they had the negative earnings growth. That's cool. But it doesn't look sexy when we are at war because no one can see the future. And that's why Wall Street has been watching every Federal Reserve comment, every inflation report, which actually came in good. Every morning, the bond market is reacting. And bond yields have stayed elevated. That tells us investors still expect borrowing costs to remain high, which means everything matters now more than ever. Companies can no longer simply promise the future growth. Now they have to prove those massive investments are eventually going to generate some profits. And that brings us to the next question. Where's all the money going? Well, this week we get to see it even more. We saw what Google said. Google spent $44.9 billion on AI build-out. This week, we're going to hear from everybody else. We're going to hear from Meta. We're going to hear from Microsoft. We're going to hear from Qualcomm. We're going to hear from ARM. We're going to hear from Apple. We're going to hear from Amazon. And every one of those earnings reports has got to answer that question different. Now, Meta has become the biggest AI spender on earth. They're building enormous GPU clusters, training the llama, expanding AI inside of Facebook, inside of Instagram, inside of WhatsApp, and eventually they've even started the Meta glasses. And Wall Street wants to know one thing. Is all of this spending actually creating revenue? Because eventually, investors, they stop rewarding spending and they start rewarding returns. Then we have Microsoft. Microsoft owns one of the most valued positions in AI, Azure. Every enterprise adopting AI, every business building applications, every developer deploying large language models, better known as LLM, needs cloud infrastructure. Microsoft sits directly in the middle of that because if Azure continues accelerating, it confirms that the AI demand is still strong. And then we have Qualcomm. Most people think Qualcomm is just a smartphone company, and it's not. Yes, that's yesterday's story. Today, they're moving more into the AI PCs, automotive, edge computing, and custom AI silicone. So every earning cost tells us whether the transition is accelerating. Think about ARM, right? It's not a Mag 7 company, but it's a major player in the AI game. Another company investors misunderstood. ARM doesn't manufacture chips. They design an architecture that many chips are built on. Every smartphone, many AI processors, many data center CPUs, their intellectual property quietly sits underneath the modern computing. So if ARM says licensing and demand remain strong, that's another signal that AI investments continue. And then Thursday, we have Apple and Amazon. Now, Apple isn't spending nearly as much aggressively as others, which is why we see Apple really rallying, why everybody's going down. And that's why I expect investors are actually rewarding them the way they are. The margins remain incredibly good. Cash flow remains exceptional. And Wall Street wants to hear how Apple plans to compete in the AI world without spending like everybody else. Apple once said, we don't have to be first, but we have to be the best. I always liked that comment. And then we have Amazon. This is a completely different story, right? AWS remains one of the largest cloud providers on earth, y'all. And every customer that looks at Amazon, they say they're building AI every single day. If AWS demand keeps on accelerating, that's another confirmation that the AI build out is still alive. So this week isn't just about earnings. It's about a report card for the entire AI economy. Now, I want to stop right there, man. I want to invite you to come join us in my group, which is called Patreon, the Money Printers. What we do inside of there is we teach everyday investors how to build systems around trading. Not only do you build systems around trading, each and every week we get 2 lottery picks. It's 2 stocks that I break down fully, and I break down price points. I tell you what the stock is worth. I tell you what it's worth based on the current value. I give you what's called a trap load the boat price, and I also give you what's called a trap starter position price. The community is about you as an investor and as a trader being around people, not just like-minded, but who all have missions, goals, and opportunities they want to get from the market. And so I would like for you to join that. Click the link below. You'll see a link to join the Patreon, and I would love to be with you on your journey. We also get Zoom calls that get replayed. We do trade audits, and we do charting classes to help you along your journey. And I personally want to be a part of your journey. Let's go. All right, let's look at the chart right quick. Right now, we are looking at the SPY, which is the SP 500. So let's talk about some things that we're doing so we can actually see what's going on. So the first thing we realize, we're on the weekly chart. So we have this bull flag, I like to call it, right? More of a rectangular flag because we have the flagpole and then we have this. Now, I'm going to tell you what's interesting with this position right here is because right here, it broke the range. So it broke the weekly range and it came back in. So I'm cool with that. And then we have these 2 red candles over here on the end. You have actually a lower high and a lower low just on a bar to bar count. That tells us that sellers are winning at least the last 2 weeks for sure. Now, if we're looking at a couple things, if you're saying, hey, Trap, we're looking for pullbacks, you got to look at a couple things. And I like to go for major key areas right here. So if you're looking for a pullback, you'll see it right there at 690, which would really be a drop below the 20 SMA, which I'm not a fan of. But again, we got to use that because if we look here, people thought we were gonna come down here like, oh, Trap, we're gonna fall down to that. I don't always think that. Now, I want to show you something with this tool I'm gonna use, this measuring tool. From this all-time high, we dropped about, before we got the rally, we dropped about 10%. And then we got that rally on the S&P. So right now we are, let's go from all-time high right now, we are only about 5% from all-time high, right? And if we drop to the 20 SMA, that'll put us at 5.77%. And if we came all the way down to this previous all-time high here, that key level, it'll give us an 8% drawback. So I'm not mad at that. So it's saying if we drop from here, we need about another 3% to see here. That puts us at 8%. I'm not mad at that. I don't think nobody would cry at an 8% pullback, but I don't think we're going to go there. Now, what I will say is I want to look here at a major support level here because that's rejected at 717. But ultimately, I want to get back on top of this all-time high, which was 759. So I'm interested to see what happens this week. So let's get to the daily and let's see what happens. All right, so here we are at the daily. We got this marked off. I'll open it up a little more so you all can see. So now we notice something though. There's a gap right here. I'm gonna take this off. I'm gonna change my box. Oh, that gap has been filled. So that gap is no good. So that gap has been filled, but you do have an overhead gap right here. I'm gonna take this off. Take my box off for a second. You do have an overhead gap here that's going to be interesting for us to look at right here. right? That's gonna be real interesting. So the one thing I want to see the S&P do this week, especially on the daily, is reclaim the moving average stack, which is the 50 and the 20, which is at 745 and 746. I want to see it reclaim that. I want to make sure when we're looking at from a key level experience, we want to make sure. Here's a level I definitely want to be interested in. Why? Because we created this high here, and then we created this low, and we created this high. So we can see this cluster here. So if it does fall, I want to make sure and see if it holds 731. That would be interesting for me to see a hold. But I want to reclaim the moving average stack, and then I want to reclaim this area right here at 755. So I want to reclaim that. I want to see if buyers can reclaim this and then reclaim this right here. So that would be interesting for me to see this week on the S&P 500. Again, we got a lot of earnings coming up, so I definitely don't want to, mislead because anything will happen with earnings. What we do want to see is them respect this low right here. We don't want them to break down past that. I would love to see them hold this low. Coming here would be really dangerous into what we're doing. Let's put them. That'll bring us down right at 6%. And right now we are down, we came down to right at 3% based on that. So we get a 6%, and then notice right here, it'll bring us to 8%. That will put us right on top of the 200-day moving average. So we definitely don't want that on the S&P. But if we do get it, I'm not mad at it because that becomes a great opportunity for us. Now let's go to the NASDAQ right quick, y'all. We look at the Qs. This is slightly a little bit different simply because the Qs, have that heavy tech rotation. We'll come here. First thing we see, Friday, we close inside the gap. Now that's going to be important because we want to see what that gap does. We want to see if we get the gap fill that comes down, or do we get the gap fill that comes up? So that's going to be really interesting to see. But let's go to the weekly right quick so we can get a better idea of what is exactly going on. So again, we do have the rally here. All right, but then it's not so pretty here because this is broken down. So we can't use our bar that, but this broke down. We want to see if it holds this, which is 674. We want to see if it holds that SMA 20, or does it come down to that key area down there? We get to the daily and we can tell a different story. Let's open it up. Right, so we want to see if it holds that. We want to get back on top of the moving average stack. What I don't like is the 20 crossed over to the 50, so we need to see that cross back over. We do have a gap here. That's going to be pivotal to see what they do with that gap because they fill in the gap right now. Again, stock futures is up right now. All right, so you got futures up slightly right now. That's that. So your futures are up right now. NASDAQ futures are up right now. Not a lot, but they are up. And let's look at the ES. SPY futures are up right now. Not a lot, but they are up. So we want to see that going into the week. So that's going to be interesting. Right now, this is real time looking at the data.